Okay, started the recording now. Okay, now it's recording. Hi and welcome to the cert-manager dev bi-weekly meeting. Today is Thursday, 30th May 2024. As part of the CNCF, we follow the CNCF Code of Conduct, which basically means let's be nice to each other. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube once it is available, and I'll do that tonight. Please go to the agenda document if you want to add any item, and add your name to the attending list. If you have any agenda items, please add them. Is anyone new to the meeting? I think Trilok, you have already come once. So I'll skip the newcomers part. And today we'll start with some announcements, which I will delegate to Ash, and we will continue with the items in the agenda if there are any, because I haven't opened the agenda yet. And I'll share my screen once I have but you can start, Ash.
Thanks very much. So yeah, first thing is an update on the graduation process, which I'm doing every couple of weeks now, and I always enjoy doing. Not anything major to announce, but it is moving forwards. As far as we're aware, we've now completed all of the tasks required for graduation, and the graduation issue we have has been updated to reflect that. The final thing really was the security self-assessment, which has just finished being reviewed by Tag Security, and we'll raise a PR to add it to their repo, which holds these things, before too long, probably next week at this point. So that's all going good. They had a bunch of interesting questions when we met with them last week, and no big concerns, which is always nice. And you always want the security team to bless the security product, right? So yeah, all good news on that front. There's not really much to say other than that it's in the CNCF's hands. There will be news on that. I will be away on holiday in the next iteration of this meeting, and obviously for some time around it. If Katie has any problems or any questions or anything during that, I've pointed it to the cert-manager maintainers mailing list, so all of the maintainers should be able to get involved and help out. The other thing is we merged our new updated roadmap, which was discussed with the steering committee after our inaugural meeting of that. That is live in the community repo. I've now got a PR in flight there to add a description of how we'll update it in the future, which basically says, tell people what you're doing as much as possible. There is a link in the 5-minute announcements section there, the community PR. Any reviews, any comments welcome by anyone at all. I don't think it's anything particularly controversial, so hopefully we'll be able to get there. Obviously, we've had Spiros from the steering committee give it an approval already, which is always nice to see. Yeah, please, anyone who has any comments, please add them there. We'll get that merged soon, and then that'll guide us as we add future things to this roadmap, which will guide how, in theory, how cert-manager gets developed in the future. I think that's everything. You're muted, Maël.
Of course I am. Thank you, Ash. That was really nice. Thanks. Now to the bulk of the meeting. We have Trilok and Adam who have items, and I'll be gladly giving Trilok. So let's start with Trilok. OpenShift Routes with Shim. Do you have an update on? I'd love to hear what's the update on OpenShift 4.16 and the certificate. What's this certificate? Ref? I can't remember.
Certificate, yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, right. So basically, now we are going into a tech preview. with supporting external certificate reference. So this reference is just a secret reference, okay, and there are no annotation-based auto generation of certificates. So it would still be with OpenShift Routes. So if any user thinks that they need some kind of annotation-based auto generation of certificates, it's good to go with OpenShift Routes. So when I was looking at the PR, I think the number 45. Okay, I don't remember the number anyway. So I did take a look at the PR, and so the PR to support certificate based generation is a must have. Like I think we should move away from certificate requests, like you suggested in the comments, right? And yes, so I was even looking at the previous meeting notes about having it part of the cert-manager core. There, I think there would be a lot of transient dependency problems because OpenShift API and the version it basically has some dependency as Kubernetes are totally different from what cert-manager is out, right? So I think it is best to have it as an external sub-project, right? And
Yeah.
it would be easier to maintain that way. Yeah.
And so we discussed moving to core. I'm highlighting what you're talking about here. There were concerns. Yeah. So we're all in agreement that we're not going to do this. Peter, who is not here, was the one who proposed, or he just wanted to bring that up because he felt like there was a mismatch between what we said in our core mission for cert-manager to be the I can't remember, the default solution for certificates for OpenShift and Kubernetes. But yeah, we're all in agreement we're not going to move that to core. Now, there's two items that I wrote in this issue was where Red Hat needs to be more involved with these discussions. And yeah, specifically last time it would have been great if we would have stopped talking and waited until you're here. But it was fine, I guess. But yeah, and successfully we have you in the next dev biweekly, so that's a win.
Yeah, I'll be more frequent in the coming meetings.
That would be awesome. There needs to be a discussion around how Red Hat contribute to cert-manager. In particular, if OpenShift Routes is something that is of interest, would be great if the end-to-end tests would be supported by Red Hat because they basically we haven't done it at all because it's I haven't done end-to-end tests at all because I haven't had the time to do anything, but also because OpenShift clusters, official ones, cost a lot, and it would be great if Red Hat had some support, was supporting us. AWS, for example, for their private CA private CA issuer,
The service CA operator.
Yeah, the other one, exactly. They do offer the AWS infrastructure to test things. They also, I don't know, they just manage the project for us, which is great because then it means that's less work. But for OpenShift Routes, I'm kind of the one driving the project. And yeah, so what do you think about OpenShift? Could you have this?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. So I wanted to get more details around what is the expectation of support do you need. So are you looking at the infra support or contribution as a and maintaining the test framework for this, or what exactly are you looking for?
So at the minimum, it would be just the cost of running OpenShift. Maybe not the infrastructure, because cert-manager already has the CNCF is giving us free, or they give us infrastructure that we can use, so we can pay for that. But the OpenShift license is what we are asking.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll check with the OpenShift engineering for the existing test cases or what they are running for OpenShift container platform, right? So which is basically the Kubernetes. And maybe I'll get back with more information around it.
And I didn't really understand so moving certificates to certificate requests,
Mhm.
which was the original idea of this issue here. You asked us to pause the work, or wait until 4.16 is released and that we have more information. Could we resume the work on this?
Yes, so this work needs a bit of modification now, because now the OpenShift Routes controller basically tries to copy all the TLS key and certificate, basically the TLS data, onto the route, right? So that needs to be changed to basically add only the secret reference,
Yeah.
right?
Uh,
And
yeah.
yeah.
Other question: is there any plan for the Red Hat cert-manager operator to also include the OpenShift Routes project?
Yes, I wanted to come to that. Okay, cool. Anyway, since you brought it up, so here is the thing that I was thinking. So it would be easier to have all the shims as separate controllers, so that the user has an option to choose and install these controllers, just like Istio right? So I see these controllers as an integration controllers rather than the core controllers. So that way it would be easier to maintain and run specific tests that are very specific to these controllers, right? So this would give an option for an operator and the user to choose which shim he would like to, rather than having all these controllers bring up, get deployed, and they are never used, kind of thing. So
But
it's
so
specific to,
what is a
yeah.
shim? Sorry, I don't. So a controller is something that runs all the time, and you have it
Yes,
running in the cluster. A shim is different. Is that
right. So
correct?
yeah, but I saw the Ingress shim is also implemented like a controller which keeps on monitoring all the annotations, right?
Yeah, that's
So,
correct.
so I wanted to bring this out because going ahead, I see that Ingress API may get deprecated, but I don't know when, but it might happen. So Gateway would become a default, way of deploying your routes and other things. So I was thinking to get this shim as separate controllers, just like OpenShift Routes and Istio, so that it is easy to manage the customer use cases. So the benefit what we get here is a lightweight cert-manager plus a more configurable plugin based kind of a thing, where operators can choose what is the default mode they can start with, right? If a user does not want to have any route based use cases, he can just have only gateway controller or something that can work for them, right? And there might be cases where users may not even would like to have annotations, because they might see that annotations are not giving them the full control of the certificate configuration. So they would better go with deploying a certificate and connecting it via secret reference rather than having an annotation, right? So in that case, they don't need any kind of shim or controller running, right? So we
Yeah,
need
that's
this
correct.
So we want to bring this out for making it more modular and configurable, and keep the cert-manager core as a lightweight thing. So what do you think?
Okay, so as I understand it, right now OpenShift Routes does a lot of things, but what you envision is for it to become just the shim. So creating routes out of an ingress or a gateway. Is that what you mean?
No. So I would keep the behavior of routes as it is.
Hmm.
But there are other controllers like ingress shim and gateway shim, which are part of core, right? So we want to bring this outside the core as a sub project that would help, users to use them based on their own use case configurations.
Okay, gateway API shim to outside, like to out of tree.
Yeah.
But bring the
So
so what would okay, maybe I'm not understanding the.
okay.
So I do understand this. Bring the in-tree ingress shim and gateway API shim to out of tree.
Mhm.
Uh,
So the
how do
benefits
you? Yeah, go ahead.
here. So the benefit here is user do not have to run these controllers all time if they are not using any of the routes or ingress, if they are only using gateway, right? And if a user is not setting up their uh, integration using annotations, but rather use only certificate, then they would definitely not use any of the shim or the OpenShift route. So it's just like we are having these controllers consume resources currently, right? So we want
Yeah.
to make the core cert manager a bit lighter than to have all these controllers running when you have a default deployment like what we have today.
Is that a customer request actually?
Yes, so basically we have customers who are not actually going with annotations. And the reason why they are not going with annotations is basically they do not see all the configuration parameters being captured by annotations. They feel it is better to use certificates rather than annotations.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a request that you have. Would you help us uh, write a design for this,
Yeah, sure,
or
definitely.
or anyone from Red Hats? Because that could
Yeah.
be the start of. I don't know what Adam and Ash and Richard and Tim think about this. I'm waiting for any feedback.
I'm all for moving things out of tree as long as we maintain a ease of installation model and don't break people. So, like for existing Helm charts, for example, we need to make sure we can also install these components and things like that. We definitely need, if we do want to bring things out of tree, we definitely need to beat a big drum and tell people long in advance. Because if you're not deploying with Helm, you're suddenly going to lose a bunch of functionality.
Okay.
But the bringing ingress shim out of tree, that means putting it in its own GitHub repository. But that's not necessary to solve the problem that Maël has written, which is that customers don't. What does it say? Customers. Oh, I misread it. They don't want
I'm
to
not sure.
install.
I
They don't
wrote
want to
some
run
stuff,
the
but I'm.
ingress shim. But that could be a parameter to the Helm chart, which just and there already is, right, to just disable the ingress shim. I could
Is
imagine.
that
I can
enough?
understand why you might want to turn on ingress shim, but not gateway API shim or OpenShift Routes shim. So be able to turn those things on and off individually. But I don't see why it requires them to be moved out of tree.
Yeah, there's the controllers. Is that controllers? I think Ash and Tim, you're working on something to ease the process of only disabling a subset of, just disabling the one controllers that you want to disable.
Do you know what? I'm getting confused, aren't I? I was imagining. I'm so terrible at this. I imagine things. Ingress shim is not its own Docker image at the moment, is it? That's what I was imagining that it already was.
Yes, you're right, Richard. So it makes sense. Yeah.
So I think Maël, is ingress shim a separate Docker image?
No, it's in call.
So I can see why it'd be worth moving it to its own Docker image. And so that in the Helm chart, you could choose to install the ingress shim deployment, and only if you chose to deploy ingress shim would you need to install the RBAC that it requires, like the ability to modify the ability to create certificate resources.
Yeah, just a question, Trilok. Would just trying to understand, would disabling the ingress shim controller satisfy this? If they don't want to use annotations, they only want people to use certificates directly. What about disabling the controllers then?
Yes. So at the first thought, it looks like it solves a problem, but I need to dive deep to see if they need a deeper, fine-grained controller saying that I don't need to open up all my ingresses across all namespaces, right?
Disabling the ingress shim controller, if you're installing with the Helm chart, you would still have you would then be needlessly granting the cert-manager controller service account permission to create certificates.
But
ideally,
the RBAC,
if you
yeah.
disable ingress shim, you shouldn't have to grant that permission.
Yeah, that's true. The RBAC is not correct. Like, for example, you can read ingresses, which it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Trilok, do you want? We could continue talking about that either asynchronously on Slack, or we can.
Yeah, I can post a GitHub issue if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess the most important thing for me would be to understand the problem and like really understand it. Just to understand if the solution makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I can elaborate in a GitHub issue, so that's where we can document clearly. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. So again, the question I had was: is OpenShift Routes meant to be added to the Red Hat Enterprise or Red Hat Operator?
Right. So currently, we really do not have plans because
Okay.
customers are actually not using annotations now, but few of them are using cert-utils operator. For them, it might become a problem because we do not support cert-utils operator as part of cert-manager project, right? So we are just waiting for their confirmation. So if it comes through, then definitely we would like to install OpenShift Routes as a plugin to the operator rather than have a complete different implementation altogether.
Okay, as a plugin later. Okay, thanks. Okay. Would you do you have anything on that topic still, Trilok, or do we want to move to Adam, who has another talking point?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
Thanks. Adam, you're up. Push to multiple registries. Wait, will I be able to use GHCR soon?
Well, that depends on if people want to merge this proposal. So yeah, we talked about this initially in the last bi-weekly, and the outcome was to raise a proposal. So I have done exactly that. I have raised a proposal covering the goals and non-goals of moving to the registry. This proposal is not specifying what registry we are pushing to. It's intentionally saying we should probably ask around the community to see what there is, but it does put down our goals, motivations, and a release plan of getting it out. So obviously the main goal being that we want to have and advertise a registry that doesn't have the name Jetstack in it. We want one that is more vendor neutral. We do not want to stop publishing Jetstack because we do not want to break people's deployments. So we want to make sure everything is just backwards compatible. And yeah, we want to make sure that everything is as secure as it is now. So whatever registry we choose, just make sure it's as got the same security measures we've got on the current one. That's about it. It's just putting down all the things that we talked about in the last meeting. My main
that looks great.
The agenda is people have a read so we can merge it in and start baking tickets off it, like choosing the registry.
I don't know about others, but I feel this is plenty enough for me. This document you wrote. Don't have any comments. Everything looks good.
Yeah, I've not really done anything more than skim this, but it looked spot on from what I saw.
It's a lot of words for basically saying push to 2 places.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. A lot of words. Yeah. Okay, I guess we can move on with we can have some looks good to me, have it merged. I guess GHCR will be the winner, right?
No,
Not
so
pushing for anything, but
once it gets merged, I was planning on obviously GHCR and Quay are the front runners because we've already got the ability to push to both those places. I was going to put something in the community channel asking for feedback, and also the issue about someone raised last time. Someone linked to an old issue about wanting it pushed to multiple places. I'm going to point them at that Slack thread and go raise your concerns here because we're choosing a registry.
yeah.
I imagine GHCR will probably win if we point people from that Slack thread from the GitHub issue at Slack because they all seem to want GHCR.
Also, quick note, something I noticed when I was looking at different registries. These registries, even though they all follow the same OCI standard, sometimes they behave a bit differently. So I think GitHub, for example, it creates like an image for them is like a release artifact. And I think you cannot delete any of the images. I think with other solutions like Key.io, if you like push the same tag, if you like push another image to the same tag, it actually removes it or it changes stuff. So I think we should definitely kind of evaluate all different behaviors. Definitely when you like push a different image to the same tag and see what happens in that case. That's just one of my learnings, that they definitely don't behave exactly the same, all these registries.
Yeah, as part of the criteria for this, because we might have teething troubles around the registries, the plan I put together was get it pushing so we can iron out bugs, but don't advertise it for a little bit. Obviously, put in a Slack channel, you could use this, but once we're happy and all the tests are passing off both registries, then we advertise it for a bit, and then once we're happy, then we can then switch all the documentation over. There's like a flow of getting everything moved over once we're confident.
Okay. So there is some investigation.
When if the release scripts now push the image to 2 or 3 registries, I remember it being a pain if that pushing of the image right now, if that goes wrong, then I can't remember whether it's possible just to rerun the release script. But if we're pushing to 3 registries, or two or 3 registries, and one of those pushes fails, will it be possible to retry the publish, the release publish step?
I would hope so.
It's pretty easy to extend it. It's just different named actions that are taken by that, and the CMRL can already allows you to specify just one of them to do. So you can just add 3 options, each one doing a different registry.
Right.
I think for like CMRL releases, it's maybe a bit different since we build and then we publish. And that's kind of one step at the moment. So if the publish step fails, I feel like that will require right now to rebuild it too. It's maybe not a big deal because these builds are quite, how do you say that? They're like, they will, yeah, they are reproducible. They will recreate exactly the same build. So that's good. Go ahead.
I was saying, if we wanted to, we could create an artifact out of the OCI directory we build, because the Makefile modules repos first build an OCI directory, then push that. If we made that an artifact, we could download that from any failed jobs, and then we could push exactly what got pushed to one registry to the others.
I thought that the staging
That would be
part of the release created the images and put them in a bucket somewhere.
So I'm talking about the non-CMRL releases, like the Makefile, like cert-manager, approved policy, CSI driver, those kind of things.
Right.
Yeah, those when they build, because they use Kel and build a directory. It's a downloadable asset we can add to. We can download, put as a result of the action that we can then download. And if the build fails, we can always crane push that.
Another interesting insight is that SBOMs are not reproducible. Like SBOMs do contain the current date and whatever. So if you
that should be an asset as well. Then we should download that to keep them the same.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen issues where like was just recreating the same image, and I was using cosine to also add the SBOM and sign the SBOM and so on. And so the image would be the same because that was reproducible and I didn't change actually the code. But all those signatures and those SBOMs were all different. So it was like 20 SBOMs just for one image because I rebuilt it a couple of times. So I think it's definitely worth also tackling that issue if we at some point add SBOMs.
Yeah, for sure. So these are all things we can improve. I mean, iteration 1 will just be get it working, and then we will have problems to iron out. For sure, because that's how this goes down. And
What's the
for now there'll be different push methods for cert-manager and Make module stuff, which is just inevitable because we have different release processes.
Well, one of the reasons we want to push to a different push the images to a different registry is for our graduation, because it's part of the graduation criteria. What do we have to do about the Helm chart, which is also on a JetStack domain?
I would just say on that it's not explicitly required by the graduation criteria that everything be vendor neutral for us to be able to graduate. It's just kind of that should be the direction of travel more than anything.
Okay.
Like the CNCF do recognize that changing these things is going to take a long time because these things, the repo and the image names are all used everywhere, and like it will take a long time to migrate. They're not militant about that. It's just obviously that's the way we want to be going, and obviously that is the way we are going.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try to stop saying that thing because I keep saying it.
It's all good. Yeah, but I think we should look into the Helm charts as well. Probably publishing them to an OCI registry is a good way to go with that, because that's a separate ask we've been having, and that's a very easy thing to do and doesn't involve us running a web server like the current repo does.
I think, yeah, consolidating makes perfect sense for that. Put them all in the same OCI registry, while we continue to publish to the JetStack one because we are good people. But I think that's a separate proposal.
Yeah.
I think it's a bigger change. It's a bigger change to suddenly change the entire mechanism we're pushing Helm charts.
That reminds me, I think it's true that there's the Helm chart does have a Helm chart value for changing just the registry of the images, but I think last time we tried it, it didn't work. That might be worth double checking.
Like, for example,
like you have to, if you change the registry, you also have to specify all the images and tags in Helm chart values.
Oh, you should be able to just override the registry. That's why it's split into fields.
I might be wrong, but that's something that I remember encountering.
I think you're right. I think it's a bug for some reason. That's how it works right now.
Okay, we should fix that bug because that's not behavior I'd want.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
Especially if I'm mirroring the registry, I don't want to have to go hard code all your tags as well.
Do we call it registry or repository? Like, it's so random in each. Yeah.
So a registry is the entire. It contains multiple images, and a repository is a single image, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. In some Helm charts, it's going to be the repository is going to be the slug before the image name. Yeah, go ahead.
So a Docker repository is lots of images with the same name but with different tags. A registry contains multiple image names. So key.io is a registry. Key.io/cert-manager/cert-manager is a repository.
What's key.io/cert-manager?
A registry because it contains multiple images.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why they've done that. Why haven't they just called it an image with multiple tags? Why do they have to call it a repository? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Are we done talking about the multiple registries proposal? Yeah, looks like it. So next step is have a look. So a few looks good to me on this design, and then Adam to share a message on the cert-manager channel.
Sure, I'll put a message in the cert-manager channel asking for opinions in a thread, and I will link people in both the proposal pull request thread and also in there was a previous issue about wanting to go to multiple registries. I'll link that as well and try and get voices.
Thanks. I'm not sure. I'm not really motivated to do sweeping tonight. Is anyone up for some desperate digging or not? I can see Ash doing the opposite of nodding.
cert-manager 115 is scheduled to be released next week, which that's maybe something I should have said in the announcement section, but still, we will do a sweep before that because I think the release process requires that we do that. So it'll happen. Just doesn't have to happen today.
Okay, great.
Obviously, that's mostly to check that there's no vulnerabilities in there before we release it.
Yeah, I think the task grid looks pretty good. There are a few failures, but it seems to be node shutdowns that aren't recovered for some reason, even after we fixed some of those issues. So I feel like it's okay. There are definitely no new security issues.
Okay. Does anyone want to bring any other topic that isn't on the agenda? Okay, so we're going to stop here, at least for the recording. I'll stop the recording and we can start talking freely. How do I stop this? Stop recording.